My mother-in-law kept on taunting me while my husband supported her. I finally had enough and left the house. It had been a slow burn, building up over months until it finally boiled over. My mother-in-law, Margaret, seemed to have an endless list of complaints about me. From the day I married her son, Peter, it was clear I didn't meet her expectations. She had this ideal image of a daughter-in-law, someone like her best friend's daughter, perfectly domestic and obedient. Unfortunately, I fell short in her eyes. Every day was a new critique, whether it was my cooking, is this supposed to be food, or my job, why waste time on that job? Margaret made sure I felt inadequate. The last straw came when she demanded that I hand over my entire paycheck so she could manage our finances. Peter shouldn't worry about money, she said, like it was her right. Peter, caught between his loyalty to me and his respect for his mother, often urged me to ignore Margaret's remarks. Sometimes he even defended her actions as well-intentioned but misguided. It was the classic case of a mama's boy stuck between his wife and his mom. One Tuesday evening, after a particularly exhausting day at work, followed by Margaret's scathing critique of my attempt at dinner, I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed out of our house, leaving Peter and Margaret speechless. Driving aimlessly through the rain, I replayed everything in my mind. How had it come to this? Was I overreacting? But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. I couldn't continue like this. I needed space from Margaret's constant meddling and Peter's indecisiveness. Now I'm holed up in a cozy bed and breakfast on the edge of town, trying to make sense of it all. My phone won't stop buzzing with missed calls and messages from Peter, ranging from apologies to pleas for me to come back home. But for now, I need time to figure out what I want, away from Margaret's suffocating grip and Peter's mixed signals. Maybe I'll find clarity here, amidst the floral wallpaper and mismatched furniture. Or maybe I'll binge-watch Netflix until my problems magically disappear. One thing's for sure, I won't be attempting lasagna anytime soon. Update 1. It's been a week since I left Peter and Margaret behind, and being away has given me a chance to think. Away from the toxic atmosphere at home, I've had time to reflect on my marriage and what I want for my future. I realize now that my relationship with Peter has always been a struggle between love and frustration. His inability to stand up to his mother's demands has been a constant source of tension. While I understand his desire to keep the peace, I've often felt neglected and unsupported. As for Margaret, distance has given me a clearer view of her behavior. Her expectations were not just unreasonable, but hurtful. She didn't just criticize my cooking. She compared me unfavorably to her friend's daughter, calling me names like lazy and ugly. It was demoralizing. Amidst all the emotional turmoil, there have been some lighter moments. The owner of this bed and breakfast, Mrs. Appleby, insists on calling me dear and plying me with homemade cookies. She's become my unofficial therapist, dispensing wisdom along with tea and sympathy. If only every problem could be solved with a warm cookie and a sympathetic ear. Meanwhile, Peter continues to reach out, alternating between heartfelt apologies and justifications for his mother's behavior. I haven't responded yet. Part of me wants to hear him out in person, away from Margaret's influence. But another part of me fears that I'll give in and return to a life where my frustrations are dismissed for the sake of family harmony. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time, navigating this unexpected detour in my life with determination and uncertainty. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear. Lasagna is definitely off the menu for the foreseeable future. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since I walked out on Peter and Margaret, and today I finally met with Peter face to face. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe in town, away from prying eyes and family pressures. As I waited nervously, stirring my lukewarm coffee, Peter arrived looking equally anxious. We exchanged awkward greetings before diving into the heart of the matter. I calmly but firmly laid out all the injustices I had endured, years of criticism and belittlement, even personal insults like being called lazy and ugly. Peter listened attentively, occasionally interjecting with apologies and attempts to explain his mother's point of view. But this time, I stood my ground. I made it clear that I couldn't go back to a life where my happiness came second to his mother's demands. To my surprise, Peter didn't defend Margaret this time. Instead, he acknowledged the strain our marriage had been under and expressed a newfound determination to prioritize our relationship. He admitted that while he loved his mother, he couldn't continue to condone her behavior at the expense of our marriage. We talked for hours, airing out our hopes and fears for the future. It wasn't easy, and tears were shed on both sides. But in the end, we tentatively agreed to seek couples counseling and set firm boundaries with Margaret. It was a small step, but a significant one towards rebuilding our fractured relationship. As I drove back to the bed and breakfast, my mind was swirling with emotions. Relief mingled with uncertainty, but also a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way forward together, armed with a newfound understanding and a determination to confront our challenges. And Margaret? Well, she may not be thrilled with the new direction our marriage is taking, but for once, her opinion doesn't dictate my happiness. I've learned that sometimes you have to fight for what you deserve, even if it means challenging the expectations of those closest to you. As I unlock the door to my temporary sanctuary, Mrs. Appleby greets me with a knowing smile and a plate of freshly baked cookies. "You look like you could use one, dear," she says kindly. And for the first time in weeks, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. The road ahead won't be easy, but at least now I know I'm not walking it alone. And who knows? Maybe one day, lasagna will make a triumphant return to my dinner table. But for now, I think I'll stick with cookies.